All right, let's just dive right in. We hear it all the time, right? Make your life count. But what if the key to all of that isn't about managing your time, but about something, well, something much more powerful? We're going to put together a kind of owner's manual for your life, mixing the hard reality of our limited time with the one skill that can truly upgrade everything else, the skill of learning.
So this is where it all begins. Take a good look at that number, 30,000. That's roughly how many days you get, on average. That's it. And if you're, say, 30 years old, you've already burned through about 11,000 of them, just gone. Now, that's not meant to freak you out. It's meant to be a shot of espresso for your soul. It's about creating an urgency that just cuts through all the noise.
And this brings us to a huge problem. On one side, you have the way we were taught to learn, years and years and years of school. And on the other side, you've got your life's clock. And as we just saw, it is already ticking down fast. The old way of doing things is just too slow. It's not built for the kind of life we actually want to design for ourselves. We need a better system.
So what's the solution? It's all about mastering the skill of learning itself. Think of it as the ultimate meta skill. It's the one ability that, once you really get it, lets you pick up any other skill, tackle any problem, and basically upgrade any part of your life whenever you want. But, and this is a big but, doing it right is about a whole lot more than just reading a bunch of books.
Oh man, we've all met this person, haven't we? The well, actually guy. This is the first and biggest trap of learning. When you just collect facts to prove other people wrong, it makes you kind of unlikable, and people just shut down. Being truly smart isn't about being a walking, talking Wikipedia. It's about connecting with people. And this just nails the difference, doesn't it? Instead of correcting someone, you connect with them. It is crazy, right? You start by agreeing, by validating them, and then you share what you've learned like it's some cool thing you just discovered. The whole secret is to teach people without making them feel stupid. That's how people start to see you as genuinely smart, not just obnoxious.
Okay, so how do we actually make new information stick in our brains? It really boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful loop. See, you have to convince your brain that this new info is actually useful. Otherwise, poof, it's gone. So after you learn something, you have to go do it. Nobody learns to tie a tie just by watching a video, right? You learn by watching it while you're fumbling with the tie yourself. And what if you can't practice it, like, say, jump-starting a car? Well, you visualize it in detail. You put yourself there, you see the cables, you imagine the whole thing. It kind of tricks your brain into thinking you've already done it, and that locks the memory in place.
Okay, so now we have the how. We've got this powerful learning engine. But an engine is pretty useless if the car has no steering wheel, right? The big question is, where do we point this thing? How do we apply this skill to really get the most bang for our buck out of those 30,000 days?
All right, let's fire up that engine. We're going to take this skill and apply it to the big hitters, the core areas that really shape our lives, our work, our priorities, and even our relationship with money and time itself.
First up, your career. Look, real growth never happens when you just stay in your lane. It happens in the sweet spot called the adjacent possible. It's that space just one step beyond what you already know. It means you got to optimize for learning, especially early on, not just for a bigger paycheck. Every new skill you learn is like another lottery ticket for your future.
And this is just such a critical idea. That feeling of being comfortable in your job, it can be a total trap. I mean, it feels safe, but in reality, it's quicksand. The longer you stand still in a role you've already mastered, the deeper you sink, and the harder it gets to ever leave. You have to keep pushing into that next possible thing.
So what about focus? Here's the secret. Knowing what not to do is often way more important than knowing what to do. This is the to-list strategy. It's super simple. You write down everything you think you should be doing, then you circle your top 3 priorities, and everything else, that becomes your avoid at all costs list. It's ruthless, I know, but it is an unbelievably effective way to stop confusing being busy with actually making progress.
And hey, if you're struggling to even figure out what those top 3 priorities are, here's a mental tool that just cuts through all the crap. It's called the deathbed test. Just imagine yourself at 90 years old, looking back. Will this thing you're stressing about today even matter? Will you regret it? Suddenly all the small, trivial stuff just melts away, and what's truly important becomes crystal clear.
And all of this leads to a completely different way of thinking about wealth. We're trained to chase the bigger salary, right? But that usually just leads to spending more money running faster on a hamster wheel that's not going anywhere. The real goal, the true prize, is what's called time affluence. It's having the freedom, the time to do what actually matters to you. Now that is real wealth.
So let's zoom out a little bit. Because you can have an amazing career, you can have your priorities perfectly dialed in, but if your relationships feel empty, then life is going to feel pretty hollow. So how do we take this same deliberate, focused approach and apply it to the people in our lives?
Here's an amazing way to think about this. Every single one of your relationships is like a little bank account. And the currency? It's trust. It's goodwill. Small positive things like a genuine compliment or just showing up on time, those are deposits. They build up your balance. But negative things, like being late or only calling when you need something, those are withdrawals. And just like a real bank, you can't keep making withdrawals from an account that's empty.
We often think we need these huge grand gestures to build strong relationships. But the truth is, it's the small, consistent, daily deposits that build the real foundation. Just a random text to see how someone's doing, remembering a small detail they told you about. These are the simple things that build incredibly strong bonds over time.
Now check this out. This idea of managing our actions can also be applied to our own inner world. Think about a strong emotion, like anger or frustration. The actual chemicals that create that feeling in your body, they only last for about 90 seconds. That's a scientific fact. After that first wave passes, if you're still feeling that emotion, it's because you are choosing to rerun the mental loop. Realizing this is like a superpower. You can't always control that first emotional spark, but you absolutely have a say in whether you fan it into a raging fire.
So let's pull all these threads together. When you have a powerful way to learn and a clear idea of where to apply it, you can make a huge shift from being a passive passenger in your life to becoming its architect. You get to actually design the thing. And here is the most crucial, most freeing part of all. This isn't about having some perfect 10-year master plan. That's impossible, and frankly, it's a waste of time. It's all about action. It's about running little, real-world experiments to figure out what actually works for you. You can't just think your way to a better life. You have to test and build your way there.
And as you're running these little life experiments, you've got to keep asking yourself one big question. Whose rules are you playing by? Are you measuring your success by a society scoreboard? Money, job titles, the house? Or have you taken the time to create your own metrics? Maybe for you, success looks like freedom or creativity or deep connections with people. Only you get to decide.
Which brings us right back to the very beginning. The clock is ticking. Your 30,000 days are passing, one by one. You've got the tools. You've got the framework. The only thing left is to act. So the question isn't some huge, overwhelming thing. It's simple. What small experiment, what tiny step will you take today to start building the life